Welcome back to Country Living Homestead. This is part 2 of our video series, how to build a DIY cattle panel greenhouse. If you haven't watched video 1, you want to make sure that you go back and check that out first, and you'll be up to this point right here. So today we are finally able to get back out. As you can see, this is why I had to stop. We had a snowstorm, so now it's a bright sunny day this morning and I'm going to get back to it. So let's get going. Okay, so the first thing I want to get going on here today is the front where the door is going to be. So here's what I'm noticing. The cattle panels are about 50 inches wide, and I don't have enough here for 50 inches. So I need to cut down one of the cattle panels so it fits well. So that's what I'm going to do now. You're definitely not going to be able to do that with like tin snips or anything like that. You're definitely going to need a cutoff wheel because this is some pretty heavy gauge steel, and you're going to need something like that to cut it. So I'm going to get that cut so that way it's going to be sized right. It's going to be about 32 inches. So what I'm going to do is measure from here, and it's going to be about right to here. So what you want to do is when you're cutting this, you want to make sure that you cut close so that way you don't have any edges there that's going to rip the plastic. Of course, we're going to be covering that with some foam covers to protect the plastic. Anyways, I want to just make sure that that's a nice even cut there right close to that other bar right there. So let's get to it. Okay, so we now have all the cattle panels on, which is super exciting. So now it's time to do the homestead happy dance. Oh yeah. So we got all the cattle panels on. We're ready to rock and roll. Time to put on the front door. So we're going to start framing that out. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to go yet. I'm going to take a few measurements to find out. But I ended up buying a storm door from Lowe's, and probably a little overkill. But I'm thinking I want this to be nice. I want it to last. And plus, it's our Christmas gift. So come on, you got to make it nice. So anyhow, I'm going to start trying to frame that out, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so I've cut my first board for the door frame, and it worked out to be 94 1/4 inches to the long end. Basically what I did was I just utilized the cattle panel fence to mark that, and it's basically hitting at about the 9th rung pretty well even with it. So that one is going to be 94 1/4 inches. Now your measurements might be a little different only because of the ground. I don't know if my ground is perfectly level, but it's pretty darn close. So you can adjust as necessary. But my plan is I'm going to put a few, some more braces going out this direction. So I'll get some measurements on that right now. I know the door that I've got is 82 inches tall, I believe. Let me take a look. 81 inches. So it fits 80 to 81 inches. So this is the door that I ended up buying. It's a storm door. I picked it up at Lowe's. It was like 125 bucks or something like that. So again, it's probably a little overkill, but I just want this to be real nice for us and last. So that's the first framing board that I got put in. So let's see what the other measurements are going to work out to be. And just a side note, what I've done is I took a 10-foot 2x4 and I've got that attached here to the outside just to keep everything braced. And that's going to allow me to figure out these measurements. And I just temporarily put a screw there just to hold that nice and level and make sure that we get the correct opening for the door. Okay, so for this lower brace, this turned out to be 37 1/4 inches long. So I'm going to get that attached. And I'm not quite sure what this measurement's going to be yet. It's probably going to be about the same. But again, I was just using this as a temporary brace just until I can get everything put together and figure out what all these measurements are actually going to be. So let's go ahead and get this piece put in. Okay, so this board is cut to 33 inches to the long end. And basically what I did was just cut the edge here so it formed the same as the cattle panel, so that way we can just attach the cattle panel right to this to try to sturdy this side up a little bit more. Okay, so I just checked my measurements for this door frame and I'm good. It's 32 1/8 all the way down through. So now I'm going to need to cut this board so that way we've got a lower brace for this. And that board actually, I didn't even have to cut. So that's an 8-foot 2x4 and it basically was a perfect fit. So that's awesome. So let's see what size this is. Okay, so it looks like this side is 48¼ inches long. So let's go cut this piece and get it ready to go. Okay, so this piece I just cut is 39 inches to the long end. And again, I'm just utilizing the cattle panel as a guide to mark those off. Okay, so I ran into a little bit of a problem here, and I think I figured out the solution. So what ended up happening for this top brace, it was not lining up correctly for the cattle panel to attach to. So what I did was I put it on the inside of the door frame. So that should be able to work out well. Now I can attach that right to the cattle panel to give it some more stability, and hopefully that should work out. So it's actually looking like a door. Check it out. It is now looking like a door. So very soon I'm going to be taking out this temporary brace, and we'll be cutting those pieces to the right length, and we're going to keep going with it. This piece, it ended up being 77¼ inches long with the angles. So what you'll have to do is, I had to hold up a 2x4x8 up there and kind of mark it off to where the panels were at, just to cut it to the right length. So that's the length on that board right there. Hey, check it out. It looks like it's a door. So I am going to put in some additional boards here just to kind of frame this out a little bit nicer. And then we're going to be hanging the door here pretty soon. But a couple of the measurements that I've done so far, so I was correct. Both of these are 48¼ inches long. And both of these over here are 37¼ inches long. So obviously the door is not exactly in the middle, but hey, I think it looks pretty good. Let me know in the comments below what you think. So a little correction on the hardware that I'm using. I started using these number 10 2.5-inch deck screws. I haven't touched the box of nails that I said in part 1. So these are what I've been using. I guess you could do either way, but I just had some of these laying around and decided to return the nails and just use these. So these are the deck screws, number 10 2.5-inch. So that's what I've been using. Okay, so the door frame is completed. It's now time to hang the door, so check that out. What you may have to do just to frame yours in is just measure in between the boards is basically all I did. So chances are it's probably going to be different than mine. So you'll just have to be creative with that. But this is awesome. Let's get this door hung.